foreign fighters out there, and they're fighting for the Israeli army. 1 in 7 of the reservists who were called up are foreign fighters. They hold British passports, French, German, Italian, Australian, South African, from South America. Foreign fighters who've gone to fight for the IDF. We reckon about up to a dozen alone come from the Metropolitan Police Force. Some from Thames Valley Police Force. We need Special Branch at Heathrow to stop forensically examining the passenger list of planes coming in from Islamabad and Lahore and switch instead their attentions to those coming in from Tel Aviv. Have they been fighting? Have they been fighting for Israel? Are they guilty of war crimes? We need to find out, and we need to expose them, because as the Nuremberg trials proved, simply obeying orders is no longer a defense. But there is still a war raging today, and that is one of censorship. There has been pressure to stop this meeting going ahead. A local councillor in High Wycombe told me he had 4 venues cancel on him, and all he was trying to do was to get a moderate MP from Westminster to talk about the humanitarian crisis unfolding. The Zionists have tentacles everywhere, and not content with keeping the Western media outside of Gaza from stopping them from covering the war, they are putting pressure on communities throughout the UK to stop gatherings like this. And it isn't just at community level. We've seen with the disgraceful behaviour from the BBC that this interference goes right to the very top of the media, into the very heart of our homes. So we have to make sure that we get the truth out about what is happening in Gaza. In Birmingham, Respect Councillor Salma Yaqub has managed to get a motion pushed through so that Birmingham City Council, the largest council in Europe, is going to boycott all Israeli goods. I met a couple of councillors here earlier today. I hope they're still here. Let's have the same thing happening in Rochdale and let it spread. What I am seeing now unfold is people power. People are leading. They're leading across the world. They're leading in demonstrations. They're leading in protests. And when the people start to lead, that's when the leaders start to follow. And Gordon Brown saw this with near anarchy on the streets of London during the height of the protests against the war in Gaza. And while we didn't get him coming right out and standing with the Palestinians, he started to distance himself from the Israelis. Not enough, and too little, maybe too late, but he did start to distance himself. And when leaders like Hugo Chavez kicked out the Israeli ambassador, and Bolivia followed, and the Emir of Qatar did the same, and other countries did the same, that is when politicians started to take notice. There would have been other Muslim countries following as well. Somalia wanted to kick out the Israeli ambassador, but they were stopped by Saudi. How disgraceful of the Saudi leaders. scholars telling us it was haram to march. It was haram to demonstrate. Those same Saudi scholars were cheering us on when we were demonstrating and marching and protesting over the vile cartoons against the Prophet, peace be upon him. And yet, quick turn round, marching is haram, protesting is haram. Shame, shame, shame on them. A scholar who I wish was alive today, Sheikh Al-Adnani. He used to give talks to try and raise funds for the jihad in Afghanistan against the Russians. And he used to talk to the crowds and tell them about the atrocities that the Russians were carrying out on ordinary Afghan people. And people would start to cry and they would get out their hankies and he would say to them, "Don't give me your tears." And he would say, "Blood is more valuable than tears." Well, we don't need tears for the people of Gaza. We don't need your blood either. What we want is your money. Israel doesn't want peace. It has shown that by its disgusting assault on the people of Gaza. So don't listen to any more talk about roadmaps. There's only one roadmap in town worth talking about these days, and that's the one that George Galloway is drawing up for Viva Palestina. And we are taking a convoy from London to a rally in Paris, to a rally in Madrid. We're going to Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt. We've been told, what about the Rafah border? You might not get through the Rafah border. By that time, we'll have hundreds of vehicles in our convoy. Dare that Pharaoh, Hosni Mubarak, try and stop us, we will physically tear the wall down. We're going in with fire engines, with ambulances. I'm going to finish off with a story that was sent to me today from a Jewish peace activist called Barbara Lubin from the Middle East Children's Alliance, founder and director. And I was wanting some children to join me on stage when I tell this story. So can we have some children stand by me on stage? I want you to imagine, well, I was going to say I want you to imagine these are my children, but they're our children. They're our children. And this is what Barbara Lubin wrote in her email to me today. She got through the Rafah border after queuing for 10 hours. And she said, "Out of all the devastation I have seen so far, there is one story in particular that I think the world needs to hear. I met a mother who was at home with her 10 children when Israeli soldiers entered the house. The soldiers told her she had to choose 5 of her children to give as a gift to Israel. As she screamed in horror, they repeated the demand and told her she could choose or they would choose for her. Then these soldiers murdered 5 of her children in front of her. The concept of Jewish morality is truly dead. We can be fascists, terrorists, and Nazis just like anyone else." Can you imagine the mother's dilemma being told, choose? Can you imagine the horror of being told, choose which child should live and which child should die? We have to end the Zionist state. We've got to charge the war criminals. We have to boycott Israeli goods. And we have to raise awareness of the vile atrocities that are being carried out by Israel. No wonder they want to censor us. No wonder they want to stop meetings like this taking place. We should call immediately for the Israeli ambassador in London to be expelled. He's a disgrace.